Okay, now we're going to talk about one of my favorite groups, the mollusks. Oh, what a great group. Squids, cuttlefish, octopi, snails, clams, things like that. So, I'd like you to be able to describe the important features of mollusks and their phylogeny. And this is our first look at one of the phyla that belongs to a gigantic supergroup, the Lophotrochozoa. Hard name to say. This is one of the great protostome superphylums, the great split, and there's literally hundreds of thousands of species of animals that are mostly marine, but some of them have conquered freshwater and some terrestrial habitats as well. And all these groups share some features that were probably most notably recognized when we looked at the sequence of their 18S ribosomal gene. But they also share spiral cleavage. Mostly, they are protostomes. Uh, about half of them have trochophore larvae, and another group of them have a lophophore, and that's what's pictured here. It's a structure for filter feeding that's a ring of tentacles around the mouth that have cilia and trap particles. Here you can see the trochophore larvae. There's an actual picture of it and a diagram. The lophophorates include a couple phylum of a few number of species, including the lamp shells. And the trochozoa are two groups we're going to talk about in detail, the mollusks and the annelids, but there's many, many more. Here's just a look at the phylum. The Lophotrochozoa, you can see them there um, kind of in the end. This isn't even all the groups, but it starts with the Bryozoa, Brachiopoda, Phoronidae, Rotifera, Gastrotrix, Platyhelminthes, blah, blah, blah. But it's a big group of animal phyla that appeared early and appears very, very successful. One of the most successful groups are the mollusks. They are protostomes with spiral cleavage. They have a true coelom, but it's small. Their body is divided into three regions. The head-foot region that contains, in the case of the nautilus here, the tentacles or arms, the visceral mass where their organs are, and then a fold of the body called the mantle that actually encloses a cavity that becomes the main body cavity in these guys. Mollusks have trochophore larvae, are large, active animals with very well-developed organ systems. Many of them have a unique feature in their mouth, kind of a conveyor belt like structure of sharp teeth called a radula, and many of them use it to kind of dig into um, a whatever they're going to eat, whether it's scraping algae off rocks or if it's used to capture prey. But not all of them have this. One of the biggest groups are the bivalves. Okay, and I have two diagrams here and a picture. These are clams and things like that. They don't have a radula, and here the mantle, the fold of tissue, secretes a hinged shell, and then they have a foot that they use for digging to bury themselves, and then they have these very large gills in the mantle cavity, which they use for trapping particles out of water. So they have on the upper diagram, you can see they have a muscular siphon that pumps water in, and then an exhalant siphon, the water goes out, and it'll go through the mantle cavity past these gills, and the gills will trap small particles. In the picture of the giant clam there, you can see the two siphons open. And so what you're seeing there is the fold of mantle, the two siphons, and that's filtering water. These guys have a complete digestive tract. They have a closed circulatory system, which means the blood vessels are closed. They don't go into a space, and the heart pumps the blood quite quickly. A very advanced animal. Another really big group of mollusks are the gastropods, the snails, and their allies. This also includes the nudibranchs. These have a well developed muscular foot that has mucus glands and possibly cilia. They do have a well developed radula and a veliger larvae, which is a modified form of a trochophore larvae. And here the mantle serves for respiration. It forms a cavity that encloses the gills and secretes the shell, or it actually forms a lung-like structure. And what's a unique feature of these guys is that their body is kind of twisted to fit into this twisted shell. But again, another advanced animals. And the gastropods are really advanced. They occur in marine environments, freshwater, and terrestrial. There are desert snails. Okay, and then the last group, but by no means the least, are the cephalopods. These guys, a cephalopod means head foot, and so they have a well developed foot that's divided into tentacles and arms, and their eyes are located and their head is located on there. The They have a large mantle cavity, which is used in locomotion and also contains the gills, so used in respiration. It's muscular, so it can expel water quickly. They have very advanced structures, a large multi-part brain, two hearts, a pair of hearts pumping blood quite quickly through their gills and body structure. And then they also have really neat skin. They have chromatophores and iridophores, so they can change color and become iridescent. So they're really dynamic, and these include some of the largest invertebrates. Some of the really large ones are weigh hundreds of pounds, close to a metric ton for some of the large squid, and are advanced and have advanced communication. Okay, there's an example there that of an octopi. There's a gigantic squid there on the side of a boat. That's one of the largest. Then you have shells of a chambered nautilus, a gastropod. There's a clam, a newly developed clam where you can see the siphons and the foot extended, and then a nudibranch. Like many of the lophophorates and many of the protostomes in general, we think these are old groups. The fossil evidence shows soft body forms appeared in the Precambrian period, and mollusks were well developed and well formed by the time the Cambrian period came around. Look at the Burgess fossil if you want to look up. The Burgess fossil is a fossil site in Canada that's one of the best early fossil sites. Okay, so mollusks are protostomes. They have trochophore larvae in some. Their body has three regions: the head, foot, visceral mass, and mantle. The mantle encloses a cavity that's important for locomotion and respiration and may secrete the shell in those that have shells. They have a feeding structure called the radula in many. Complex organs: digestive, excretory, circulatory system organs. Large, active predators, really diverse and abundant.